Hello, episode 2 of the Hazard podcast, and we're back. I've also realised a couple of things that I didn't set up last time. When I talk about Popper and Fidge, that's Pickles' grandparents. That's my folks. Because why would you have normal grandparent names? So we're Popper and Fidge. Big Nick and Little Bridge to other podcast listeners. I had another woman. This is so bad. By the way, before I say this, and I think I said it in the last one, I am not here to slag off all men and contribute to the decline in marriage rates. I love, and I really mean this, I love watching my mates in lovely relationships. Do you know what I sometimes think? That's where, that's what's happened. That's where the manosphere's got a little bit lost and confused. I think us gals have to take some responsibility for this. In complaining about men, we've stopped remembering to say, a lot of us, myself included, have examples of phenomenal men, like absolutely phenomenal men. My dad, my best mate Tom, Pickles' godfather. I mean, even the boys who were doing this for me. Like, I have the best examples of best men. So I think when women complain, it's because you're being shit, and we know it's possible. Like, we know we're not asking you to sprout wings and fucking fly, because we can see the blokes over here being exquisite and wonderful. That's why, and I think I do feel really lucky that Pickles has a lot of examples of men. I mean, problematically so. I realised it the other day. I was like, she's going to be so fucking warped. She's going to think men just worship her. Like, between her papa, her Uncle Tom, Tom, like all the comedians who look after her, like, she's just going to think men are put on this earth to worship her and love her and be nice to her and smile at her and sing to her. I can't believe how warped and fucked this child's notion of men's treatment of women is going to be. But anyway, that's something for another day. I love my mates in wonderful relationships. I love that. I love that Pickles is going to grow up seeing that. Like my best mate in the world, Hannah, her godmother, has just the best fella. And I'm not just saying that because they're probably listening, but it's... Does anyone else get this? If your best girl, if your best mate in the world, I mean, Hannah and I have been best since we were 4. She's like my sister at this point. If she'd come home with a bad +1, we'd have been fucked. Well, he would have been. But like, it's unthinkable how important those people are who come into your life, sort of regardless of the gender. The +1 that comes in to your best mates is so important. I'm so lucky. They're all so great. But I did have a girl sidle up to me this week. And she's like, her fella was in the room. And she was like, I wish I'd done it like you. She's like, God, I wish I'd done it like you. And I was like, oh, you fucking hate this guy. Like, you hate him. And she was like, I just, with everything, with what your relationship, with, how you parent, I just wish I'd done it by myself. And I mean, he had to be within earshot. Had to be. And I was like, well, there's a lot, both ways. And I know relationships take a real hit while baby's a little and you come out the other side. But I fucking hate the guy. And I do think I've had a few messages saying as much. But can I ask something? And I'm genuinely asking this because I don't know, but I think. I wonder if the very fact of having someone there means that in the moments of frustration and resentment, you put it on them. And again, I'm not trying to let fellas off the hook because my fucking God, are some of you not turning up. One of my mates' fellas the other day, I was at their house. I can't believe it. One of her kids was having a meltdown. One of her kids was refusing to eat. She was making the third breakfast. The dog needed to go out for a piss. It was, beautiful mayhem. And he picked his way through it. This legend picked his way through it. I was like, what is the plan for dinner tonight? I was like, oh my God, I'll stab him in the neck. I was like, stab him in the neck. Put your fork down, just stab him in the neck. It was amazing. And I love this man. I've loved him since she brought him home. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? But we will talk about my November. There was the fact that no one witnessed it, the fact that there was no one there. Like, I had a meltdown at Christmas time. So Pickles was 6 months old. and a meltdown at Christmas time with my family. And the meltdown was about the fact that people kept not offering me a coffee. I hear it. My God, I hear it. But I think the fact that I was going home where all my family was, my brother, my sister, my parents, I had this, what you never have as a single parent, I had an expectation of help. Whereas obviously I'd never had that. I knew it was just me and her. Every day you wake up and you know it's just me and her and me. I make myself a coffee every morning. But it was the expectation that I was about to have help. And by the way, they were. I wasn't left to myself, but for some reason I'd latched on to the coffee thing. I'd latched on to the fact that I'd be able to have like a sit-down morning coffee and not be like snake wrangling at the same time. And they didn't. And it went a few days with no one offering me a coffee in the morning, and I fucking lost it. We had to have a family meeting about me being offered a coffee. And I realised, I was like, it was the expectation of help. The resentment that I then built up, having not communicated, by the way, that I wanted a coffee made for me in the morning. And I was like, maybe that's it. It's the expectation and the gap between that. So half the time I think women are hoping their partner does this, hoping that they do this, hoping that they're there for this, I don't know if they're communicating it. Obviously I'm not in a relationship. But do you think it's that? Do you think it's the fury that builds, that is obviously null and void for me, is the expectation that someone is going to share that load and share. And so when you're having a bad day, you're sort of raging that person has missed it. Like you're raging that person has spoken to grown-ups all day, and you're raging that person has gone to the toilet by themselves all day. It's the gap between their time, their experience and your experience. I wonder if that, I don't know. I'm thinking out loud. I don't know if that's the case, but I do wonder. I like I said, I really don't want to contribute to the decline in marriage rates. I think you're all having a lovely time. I do want to just, the fury thing is something I want to talk about. I don't know if anyone watched it. Minnie Driver and FKA Twigs, am I saying that? Read out these letters from Ask Polly, which is like an advice columnist. But it went quite viral because it was called How Secretly Furious Are You? Now, as a redhead, anger is definitely something that, I don't know, there are stories floating around about me that I have tried and occasionally failed to handle. But it is like a lifelong thing that I've got a lot better. Don't listen to anyone who says I haven't. I have. I've got a lot better. But I sometimes think we're in a really tricky patch right now because I don't know how all women aren't furious. I don't, with everything that's going on in the world, with the state of things, with the fact that no one, except for a woman actually, ironically, is being prosecuted for the fucking ungodly and relentless horror that is the Epstein files. Half the world is on fire because of decisions made by men in power. I'm really sorry. Like I said, it's not a man baggy podcast, but I don't understand how not all women are like secretly furious at the moment. I think the way I've decided to like manage it or like balance it is when my rage is unproductive versus when it's productive. I think when it's unproductive is when I like have to take a seat, have a bath, have a walk, whatever, and just like zip it up because I'm going to say something that's destructive and horrible and I can't take back and like it isn't useful. I think for a lot of women, rage is really productive. I think it's a tell that we're not being treated within our value or our worth. And I'm saying this as someone who has had it quite badly. I've started getting quite ragey recently, but I got it when I first got pregnant. And it was a really good thing. So I suppose I just want to talk about that, like how secretly furious some of us maybe feel at the moment and how that might not be the worst thing in the world. When I first got pregnant, it was lovely, by the way. Some of you have come from Have a Word, some of you haven't. I found out 3 days before the Have a Word roast in 2024 that I was pregnant, and it was lovely. Now, for those of you who watched the roast and know that I got a lot in the neck about having tried and failed to have a baby. So those of you who didn't and aren't Have a Word fans, that will sound horrendous out of context, but trust me, roast, most of those boys on the stage were like great mates of mine. Everything had been okayed. But I got it about, trying and failing to have a baby. And So much so that Dan Nightingale sidled up to me afterwards, fucking ashen, like absolutely beside himself, just like, oh God. He was like, I knew they were going to come for you for the whole baby thing. He's like, oh God, I hope you're okay. I don't know how you, did I feel awful? And I was like, I hadn't really told anyone. Only Ishan on stage knew. And I was like, I couldn't let him go home like that. And I was like, Dan, I have to tell you something. I actually got some news this week. So that all those jokes were fine. And he was like, oh, thank God. Can I tell Laura, who's his wife? I was like, yeah, that's fine. But I was in a really lovely space. It was a lovely night that for me. I told Freddie on stage. It was a lovely night. Yeah, it really was. Something happened around that time. Actually, I'll say that in a minute. Something happened a few months after that where I was doing a gig. I was 3 months pregnant by that time. So I'd sort of started telling people. Also, it's tricky when you've done IVF. I do think you end up telling people sooner because people know you've been going through IVF. So you're not coming at this being like, oh, guess what? I'm pregnant. Everyone's like, are you pregnant yet? So it's a bit different. I started telling people. But this comedian I didn't know very well, sweet enough boy. I was gigging a ways away and he lived in the area. Sorry, I think it was something like that. And he'd asked me to do his podcast. And I was doing a weekend in this other city. And I was like, that's fine. I'll do it on the Friday. And I'd said to him, I was like, look, full disclosure, I'm actually pregnant. And I'm getting quite tired. So can I do it in the morning and then get back and I can have an afternoon nap before the show? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. I was like, but it was really important I get that nap in because I'm having a lovely time. I'm just struggling a bit with the fatigue and I've got a show and I want to be right. I had to get a little train out to his, which was about 45 minutes, just fine. And I got there and he was really lax about starting, like really chilled with time, was being quite odd about a few things. But, comedians, man, not always the most normal. And I was like, all right. Did this podcast, took quite a while. Then did the Patreon episode of this podcast. And by which time I was like, we're running quite a lot and I've got to get back and I want to have a nap. And then he was like, oh man, the memory card ran out of memory. So we didn't get any of the Patreon episode. And I was like, oh, cool. No shame. He was like, can you come back tomorrow and do the Patreon? You're like, oh, mother of God, like the one day off. But I think because I was still in that place of that's so unkind for me to say no. This is his whole thing. Like I'm by no means a massive like nationally touring headlining comedian, but I'd say I had a status level of I don't know, followers or traction or whatever in the industry that's slightly above his, and I didn't want to be a twat. So I was like, yeah, of course I'll come back tomorrow again, having missed my nap now, and do another episode. So I did. And I did. The next morning, by the way, it was that storm. Do you remember there was that massive storm in the December of 2024? Massive storm. And I wasn't happy. Like, I even got in the train out. I said to him, I was like, it's really, like, it's not good. We're not supposed to be traveling. Like, I don't know if this is, anyway. Got the train back out to where he was. He again took a little bit of time to get going. I kept saying, I was like, I really want to get back for my nap. It really is important that I get this sleep in. He picked me up from the station. He shows me a wad of cash, just as like an FYI, like not cute. Like the 90s rap videos is done. With like showing anyone a wad of cash, not what you think it is. And he was like, yeah, they overpaid me by loads at my corporate yesterday. And I was like, ooh, goody. Anyway, got to his house, did this Patreon episode, started going home. It was late again, and obviously it's that time of year anyway, so it gets dark about 4. And the train conked out. The train conked out halfway back, and didn't just conk out, like lost power, stopped in this random area of the country that I'd never been to before. And I messaged him, I was like, look, I'm stuck. And like the gale is a howling, the trees are a blustering, the train has now gone pitch black. I'm at the station and I don't know where I am. I'm still about like 45 minutes outside from where I need to get to the show. And he was like, oh, sorry, I'd offer to get you an Uber, but like, I just haven't got the money. I can't afford it. If you wait an hour and a half, I'm driving in anyway, so I can come pick you up. And I was like, what? And even in that moment, I was like, this isn't the right thing. And he was like, yeah, I'm so sorry, but if you wait an hour and a half, I'll come pick you up. And I was like, oh no, because I'm sort of in the storm, 3 months pregnant by myself in a blacked out carriage now is the thing. And got out, found this Uber. I mean, it was gale force. Like, it was awful. It was pissing it down with rain. The winds were going. I had no idea where I was. It was dark. And I just had this moment. And I know you're listening to this being like, I'm raging at this person. I was so angry with myself. I was like, you have done a thing where you have not just put yourself in a situation, you put your baby in a situation because you've done the nice thing for someone. You've said yes to a thing to be nice to the person who has shown you such abject disrespect in reverse, in what's the word I'm looking for? Response. You are now in the middle of a literal storm with gale force winds, 3 months pregnant, and you've done this to yourself and your baby. And it was a real moment of like, this stops. You are so controlled with who is in your village, with who is in your sphere, with who's in your life, with people who love you, respect you, look after you. And the same goes for the baby inside you. No one comes in now. And it was a really good moment for me because a couple of months before that, which is what I was going to say at the roast, about a week before the roast, a horrible rumour had been brought to my attention about me. And what was lovely about it was a rumour that was, I mean, so horrible, but so fucking bananas. Like, you know, when you hear a rumour and you're like, no, I see how they got there. And then you hear a rumour, you're like, I don't know where it started. I don't know, but it's horrible. It was really horrible. Now, where I'm really lucky is the person who first heard the rumour was Jojo Sutherland. Now, Jojo Sutherland is a female Glaswegian comic who, if you don't know Jojo Sutherland, I suggest you get educated because Jojo Sutherland is a fucking force. She's also a very, very good mate of mine. Anyway, this person, I guess, said this rumour. That person is presumably now walking around with like 3 extra assholes. She fucking tore him out, like absolutely chewed him out. And she was like, where the fuck did you hear this? Like, who the fuck told you this? And she was like, even in that moment, there wasn't like an ounce of possibility that it could be you. You didn't even have to be one of my closest friends to know that it was ballistic. Anyway, whatever, comedy. And but bless her, because she knew what I was in the middle of. She was actually there the morning I went in and got the embryo transfer, so she knew exactly where I was at with IVF. She didn't want to bring it to me. So she brought it to the next best person, who was Freddie Quinn. Again, if you don't know Freddie Quinn, educate. And because she knew, he's the world's biggest gossip, so he would have known. So if the rumour had been well heard or people had been spreading it, he would also know if I knew about the rumour. Now, she called him and he was like, no, I haven't heard it at all. And Hattie hasn't, because she hasn't said anything. And the two of them kept it from me for a bit, I think. And then Jojo was just like, look, just so you know, this has been said. I've dealt with it. I've talked to the part of the party, everything. But I just want to make sure you are aware that this has been dealt with. She's like, but supposedly it came from Liverpool. Supposedly the rumour that this person had heard had started in Liverpool, which is obviously where I live and where I've lived since June 2023. And this is not... I spent the first episode talking about how amazing my village is, and it is amazing. But my village is amazing because it was at that point that I decided to be fucking careful about who came in it. And I think that's really key. I think when you are doing this by yourself, or actually maybe even when you're not doing it by yourself, the people populating your life and the people who are influencing your child become so much more important. And it was at that moment that I was like, I'm not pulling the drawbridge up as such, but there's going to be a fucking guard on the gate. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's really important. And I have been. And both those things made me so furious, but definitely in an active fury, because I was like, this is a lesson. This is something for you to learn and to take and to deal with and act on, I suppose is what I'm saying. And then recently, I fucking swear, a comedian who I love him so much, I love him with my whole heart, sat there and took full credit for a joke I'd given him. And listen, for those of you not in comedy, there's kind of an etiquette. I don't expect, if we had been talking to like an agent or industry or a reviewer or a fan, whatever, and they'd said, oh, I really love this joke, fucking take it, guy. Like, it's your show, you do it. We were sat there with one of our best mates, and he turned around and he was like, oh, I really love that joke up top. And my mate goes, oh yeah, thanks. Yeah. No, it's really grown to like a place where, you know, and I was like, what? Hello, hi, Hatty Preston here. And I looked at him like, the fucking audacity. And I realised, I was like, the only person I write with is Will Hitt, a comedian friend of mine who is just the most like absurdly talented writer and comedian. I don't understand how he's not the most famous person of us all, but it works in my favour that he isn't, because he still writes with me. Whenever anyone has ever come up and complimented me on a joke, I've always gone, oh, Will, help me with that one. Or like, Will. And again, it goes back to this secret fury where I think when you're not being treated within your value system and you go, I would never do that. It's always the voice, isn't it, in your head when you're angry. You're like, I would never do that. I would never do that. I behave like this and thus I expect it to come back. And I think that's been my biggest shift this year, is going, it doesn't fucking matter actually, Hat. Like, how you behave is how you behave, and that's within your integrity guidelines. That's does not to speak of everyone else's. And I feel in a lovely place now, because I do feel like very much fewer people probably have access to me and my inner world, if that makes sense. That makes me feel like I've been really closed off and like a bitch and I've pushed everyone away, but I haven't at all. I think what it's meant is I'm now only in the company of people who filleth uppeth my cuppeth, if you will, and treat me well. And it's the same with work. As soon as she came along, obviously Pickles is at my shows until very, very recently, because she started walking absurdly early. So until very recently, she's been at all the shows. She's in the green room. She gets handed around comics and makes friends. But I was so aware that she's seeing mummy at work. And not only is she seeing mummy at work, she's seeing how mummy is treated at work. She's seeing how people talk to mummy, deal with mummy, treat mummy, look after mummy or don't. And I was like, I will only let her see how I expect her to be treated. And that's why I think I've been way more picky at a time when I can't be. By the way, financially, should not be picky. Really picky about where I work, who I work with. Because, again, it goes back to that thing of this other little person's watching you. And so, yeah, all this to say, I think our fury is good. I think our fury is right. And I think our fury, when listened to, is usually telling us something's wrong and telling us someone is wrong and to change. That's what that's my mam solo lesson, I think, for the week. Right, I've got papers for this next bit. It's my curious a bit, but I needed papers because it's actual information. Right, this is, I feel like, has been a myth. At least maybe circulated to people like me. And I think it's important that in my episode about fury, I reference this. Right, redheads. I've heard this. People have said to me before, redheads need more anaesthetic than non-redheads. I say this as someone whose epidural wore off during birth. Thank you. I'm not going to go into it. Wasn't my favourite day. Was my favourite day, got pickles. But yeah, my epidural wore off. Yeah. Just a little thing. Right, so, and I looked into it because on paper, I was like, right, if redheads need more anaesthetic, does that mean we're pussies? Like, we need more of it because we feel pain more. That doesn't feel right. And that doesn't feel right. The ginger men, fair play, but like the girls, nah. Like, and so I've looked into it. And basically the gene that is recessive, the redhead gene, is the MCR1 receptor, I think it is. And that gene is like a mutation. It has a mutation in it, which means that it's not that we need more anesthetic, we digest it quicker. So it's that we need more because we digest it quicker, which checks out because fuck me, the epidural was the best. It was so great for a man. It was so lovely while I was sleeping, and then it wasn't. And then Bridget Preston arrived back. Obviously, something we really are going to talk about is how when you have a baby by yourself, your mum gets to be in the delivery room. Can recommend, 5 stars, non-stop. It was, at one point, I was trying to listen to some nice music to like calm the baby down. She goes to me, she goes, oh God, what's that song I love? What's that song I love? The lullaby. I know, Carabara We're a Cara by Rolf Harris. I was like an actual paedophile, like a full bona fide paedophile serenading my child into the earth. Unbelievable, Bridget. Thank you. Thank you for being here. General anesthesia. Okay, this is where studies suggest redheads require approximately 20% more inhaled anesthetics, I guess that's laughing gas, to achieve the same level of unconsciousness and immobility. Fucking props to laughing gas. I loved her as well. Local anesthetics. Redheads can be highly resistant to subcutaneous, so that's in your skin, local numbing agents, which is why dental blocks or topical numbing might wear off faster or require higher doses. This is more a PSA to any redheads. Stop fucking asking for more painkillers. Ask. And that's what it says. They're like, you must ask. You must say to someone, I'm a redhead. Can you give me more drugs? Pain and opioids, more sensitive to opioids. Lol. And so should talk to their doctors, etc. when prescribing, which I guess means that we become like drug-addled psychopaths. And that's also, there's a place for that. So it's just that it takes more. But how? And then I read something that it was like, I think it was on Reddit. The notion that redheads need more anesthesia has been spread by the media. Who's that for? Who's it? Like what? Like big gas is spreading that? Be like, oh, redheads are actually just pussy. What? Who's spreading that? Just because there's some redheads and they're being like, hey, could I have an epidural and a half? Because I enjoyed it so much the first time. Maybe they just tapped Prince Harry's messages and he was just whining all the time. They're like, maybe we should knock him out a little bit more. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure he's a lovely man. He is a whiner though. Can we at least say that? He is whiny. Kim Possible. There you go. She was just a basic average girl who was here to save the world. She wasn't in pain for half of every episode. So we're obviously not pussies. Maybe she was on like anesthesia and a half. Maybe she'd got her meds right. Maybe she'd got her levels right, her subcutaneous numbing agents. Dentist though, I say about the epidural wearing off, I still think having gone through that, I'd be more furious if my like tooth, oh my God, I can't even think about it. If my tooth pain numbing agent wore off. What is that? I mean, I literally like lost a vagina of a day, but still the idea of something going into my teeth and being like, gugh, didn't lose a vagina. It's sort of back. Oh, by the way, that's basically what this podcast is. It's the launch of MILF season. The boys came in to light it. And they're like, what do you want? Like, what kind of lighting how do you want it to look? And I was like fucking MILF. Tell your friends, her gooch has grown back. You should know that. So yeah, this was the good bit. It's not just redheads and it's not just anesthetics either. Individuals with more melanin, so that's darker skin, brown eyes, have faster drug uptake rates than those with less melanin. This has been noted at least as far back as 1988, and we still don't really know why. So it means that, this affects not only anesthetics, but other drugs too. It's about, brown-eyed people will absorb alcohol into their bloodstream more quickly than their equal-sized blue-eyed counterparts, making them prone to quicker intoxication. So there's an excuse. Also, so obviously I've got like pretty bluey, greeny eyes. So it's also about your right. So if you have brown-eyed blood and you're prone to having darker skin or more tanned, you get more shit-faced quickly. Does that feel like... Obviously, we can all up our tolerance on that, but you get more drunk. Whereas my lot takes us longer to get drunk. But the good news is that the bruises we sustain while we're drunk will hurt like twice as much the next day. So that's good. That feels like karma. I just thought that was interesting. So I suppose what this is redheads who are listening, ask for more drugs. Get more drugs in. We deserve them, and it's science. Okay? You are in pain, Queen, and you're a redhead, so you're not telling anyone. Get more gas and air. Get it in. Epidural and a half, thank you. Keep that bad boy rolling. God bless you. You're out here dodging the sun and in pain. I love you all. Right, my favourite section. Dean McCarthy from Widnes, arch-nemesis of the week. Now, this one isn't actually that lol. And if anyone's been following me on Instagram, you'll know what I'm about to say. Fuck it. Before I had Pickles, I worked for Mighty. I worked at a building in Liverpool, and I worked for Mighty, MITIE, because I'm not a pro. I certainly wasn't a pro comedian in terms of I wasn't making enough money for that to be my sole income. So I had my little like half a week receptionist job, which I loved. I loved my job share. It was nice and easy, and it meant that I could do comedy, obviously every night, but manage, rent. I worked for them from when the minute I got up here. So I worked in that building, August 23 to when I left with her, May 25. Mighty came in and 2p. This is already boring, but it's just so you understand. 2ping is when, I didn't know this either. I'm not speaking to you like you idiots, but I was. 2ping is when a different company comes and takes over a contract. They've lost it or they've won it, whatever. Mighty came in, took over the contract from the people I'd previously been working with. But what it means is your jobs are safe and secure. I had obviously already filed for maternity leave way back when. So they had to take on my maternity leave contract and honour it as it had been. If there were any changes, it had to be an improvement on the last one. Anyway, did it all. When I say to you, I had dotted every I, crossed every T. Obviously, when you're a single parent family, as wonderful as it is, you have to be more diligent about your income than you've ever been before, because there's no one else going to, fill up the fill up the cup, as it were. I'd been so careful. I'd filed everything. I double, triple checked everything, got it to the right people, got it all written down, had a whole paper trail, whatever. It's not the easiest thing, actually, as anyone will attest, like all the maternity forms and things you need. It's quite in-depth, but I get it. I went middle of May, used some annual leave, firstly, just a couple of days to get off a bit early, and I did some shift swaps with my wonderful job share, who was just so wonderful about the whole thing and let me work loads in the February, March time so that I could get those few more days off in May. This is all just to say, up until then, I'd been really organised and everyone had been so supportive. Pickles was due June 15th. On June 17th, she was overdue. On June 17th, I got an email from Mighty saying, congratulations on your pregnancy. Your application for statutory maternity pay has been declined. We suggest you go to your local job centre to fill in this form, blah, blah, blah. Your forms to explain why you've been declined are password and NI protected. Here's the link to go there. This is a woman 2 days past her due date who could give birth at any moment, who's the sole earner in her house, who's just been told she's not going to get maternity pay. Now, I'm sorry to say I fucking lost it. I absolutely lost it. And I lost it because I knew I was right and I knew I'd done everything. I know I'd called everyone. God bless Gingerbread. By the way, if you are a single parent, Gingerbread is a charity who supports single parents. They've just recently lost funding for their phone line, which is one of my biggest heartbreaks, but they are brilliant. I lost it. I had a real meltdown, having had the calmest, happiest, most sun-kissed pregnancy. I actually got taken into hospital because I was having such a panic attack and a meltdown, and I thought I couldn't feel the baby move anymore. Anyway, whatever. Luckily, Big Nick came to the rescue, and Big Nick just took over. He just took over the emails. I forwarded it to him. He dealt with that because I was in the hospital, and he just was very calmly, nicely like, obviously you've got this wrong. We've spoken to legal counsel, blah, blah, blah. Pulled in a couple of the big dogs and was like, when I say big dogs, I mean like big words and things I don't understand in corporate speak. And in their defense, immediately they came back, they're like, this has been a complete fuck up and an admin error, da-da-da-da-da. Even when I came out of the hospital, I made the point, because they were obviously all over me, being like, we're so sorry, so sorry. I was like, even if you were right, even if I hadn't dotted every I and crossed every T and known my rights and known what I'd done was right and known I'd handed over in a perfect situation, to send an email saying congratulations on your pregnancy, P.S. You're getting absolutely no money, you'll be dead in a week, is maybe from a woman, this is my best part. It's one of me and my best mates, just like one day we'll laugh about this, it's still too raw, but her name was Ritika Ramane, and in a sign off it was she, her. I've got no problem with pronouns. Absolutely no problem with pronouns. What I have a problem with is you being someone who is so dogged about being professional, doing the right thing, acknowledging pronouns, making sure you're covering all your backs that you are. Your etiquette is there and your social cultural awareness, whilst telling a heavily pregnant woman to go fuck herself, is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I fucking hate that woman. I hate her with my whole body. If you think she's my Dean McCullough, she's lifelong arch-nemesis. All this to say, we got it sorted. I was given statutory maternity pay throughout my maternity leave, thank God. And when I decided not to go back for various reasons, my manager, who at the time was brilliant, she's left now, said, she's like, you live accrued holiday pay, which I didn't know that was a thing. You live accrued holiday leave pay, which they have to pay you now that you're not coming back as an extra. She told me what it was. She told me how many days. She told me that she'd filed it. She then left the company because they're a fucking nightmare. She then left the company to go work somewhere else. 2 months later, I was still chasing up for this holiday pay. And if one more fucking person tells me I've raised a ticket, I'm going to burn a fucking building to the ground. Raised a ticket. Have you raised a ticket? Oh, sorry, we don't know why this hasn't gone through. We've raised a ticket. Oh, you've raised a ticket. Oh, no, that's brilliant. I'll tell you what, I'll call my landlord who needs his rent and I'll tell him, don't worry, John, because they've raised a ticket. Had they raised a ticket? What the actual living fuck? This is a really fun company who don't have an HR department. They've outsourced it to a call center. So when you do call, when I did call, this is where it gets really good. Who picked up? Ritika Ramani picked up. The bitch who'd sent me the email a year ago being like, you can go fuck yourself, you sad, fat bitch. She picked up and she was like, gave it the full, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how, and I was like, run me by my maths. This is my maths. This is my calculation. This is what I should be getting. Why am I not? And she hung up. She hung up. She hung up the phone. She hung up the phone. And I have to tell you, secret fury, 'twas not secret. 'Twas not. I did. And again, every now and again, my fury boils over. And I went full fucking vintage Hatty Preston. I was like, I'm going to take this fucking town to the ground. And I did an Instagram post, which a lot of you saw on Wednesday evening? Thursday evening. When was it? I forget. Explaining what exactly happened. And I tried to do it unemotionally, but I just explained my track with Mighty. Within 48 hours, all the money I was owed was in my bank account. Now, did they wake up to a BBC journalist emailing their press office to ask for a comment? Did they wake up to 2 SAR submissions, which is when you submit for all the paperwork or files or anything that they have, which has your name included, that gets to be sent to you, with a threat of ACAS action? Who knows if it helped? Who knows? And multiple people, wonderful people, again, on the internet, people in my DMs being like, I've emailed this, I know this person, I can get in touch with this person. Again, as if the world couldn't have felt bleaker, then everyone was just burning candles and sunshine and stars in my life. And it was just so wonderful. They have paid me the full amount. Now, they are, Mighty and Ritika Ramani are 100% my Dean McCarthy arch-nemesis of the week, maybe of my lifetime. Here's where I'm struggling. Here's where I'm really struggling. I got the money I was owed. And I still have a case for other stuff because of what's happened. And I know that from legal advice and from friends in the profession. And I'm still fucking raging. I'm absolutely raging. And my dad and one of my mates, Helena, was like, look, real talk, do you have enough on your plate? You got the money. Do you feel like going to fight a fight that is moral and is just? Do you have enough going on? Do you have enough to focus on? Obviously, yes. My energy could be spent better elsewhere. But I'm so raging. I am so raging about the lack of consequences. Do you ever get this? Like, we all fucking love vengeance. Can we all just agree to that? Like, I know I'm specifically have a real propensity for absolutely loving anything to do with vengeance. I love it. We all do, yes? Do we all love vengeance so much? I can't. And I'm trying to separate that. I'm still furious because it's like the lack of consequences. This woman's just going to keep on like doing her job. The others are just going to keep on doing their and not caring. There was another cleaner at that building. This isn't like hypothetical. Like there's a cleaner somewhere. Like there's literally a cleaner who I used to work with at that building who for the last however many months has been taxed at 40%. I don't know how. I guess she's on some sort of emergency tax because some fucking dumb fuck has put the wrong code through and not given a fuck because it doesn't affect him. In no way given a fuck. And my friend, my job share was saying, she's like, she's been chasing him up. But she's same as me, this cleaner. Spoiler alert, cleaners not on 40% tax. That's not their tax bracket. None of us are, but definitely not the cleaners at this building. They're not on a 40% tax bracket. That puts her at more than fucking Amazon.co.uk. And she's still trying. I am someone who has, albeit like a small, but I have like 15,000 Instagram followers. Oh my God, don't treat me differently. But like, I have a version of the world where I have friends in that profession. I have people online who are willing to help and be wonderful. And this poor woman is still trying to be like, sorry, could someone change my tax? Like, they don't give a fuck. These places don't give a fuck. And I sort of, I want to sit here and be like, so it's up to me. But like, I hate it. It drives me mad. It drives me so mad. So I don't know what to do. Do I just leave it and get on with my life and look after my baby? Because that's the right thing to do. But they're just going to crack on. You know? That's what I think gets us all. Consequenceless. Okay, can I just lighten this up by speaking of consequences? I know I've banged on about this also online, but I really can't get enough of it. Lee Andrews and Katie Price. I can't. What a man. What a man. And I can't imagine what she's going through, but also what a man. I have to say this. I've been ghosted before. I know, shock. I'll give you a minute to all steady yourselves. I've been ghosted. If a man went to such lengths to ghost me as to self-film his own kidnapping in the back of a van, I think I'd be like flattered. I know in the papers at the moment it's saying he's actually in prison. He filmed his own kidnapping. How much of a disaster do you have to be for your fella to self-film his own kidnapping and send it to you? Being like, I guess I'm dead, bye. Oh, hey, sorry, it's me. I died a second ago and I've been kidnapped. It's pretty awful. Guess you'll never see me again. Oh my God, bye. Amazing. So I was just thinking about that in terms of consequences. He obviously was like, I don't really want to deal with the consequences of breaking up with Katie Price, so I'm just going to get kidnapped. I had a fella once write a diss track about me, which I thought that was good. A real actual diss track. He sat on his little keyboard, wrote a diss track. I was horrible to him, really genuinely horrible to him, must say that. But he was like, he sat at his keyboard like this. He was like, like to camera, your shitty fucking attitude is helping me feel this way. So I did what I think anyone would do in that situation, which is I sent the video to all my friends. We learned all the words and we still sing it to each other to this day. Consequences. Hello. We're at the letter portion of the pod. I've referred to November a few times. I think it's about time I talked about it. November was my worst parenting month. That was really hard. We had, to put this in perspective, I know everyone's heart is different. I know everyone who is parenting is going through very different ups and downs and chapters. November would have had her at 4 months. She was sleeping at any one stretch a maximum of 2 hours. So I was only ever getting a maximum of 2 hours of sleep. She was at that point where she wouldn't sleep anywhere that wasn't on me, in a buggy that was moving, or in a car that was moving. So even at night. She's either on you or you're moving. So in terms of my ability to recover, there was absolutely none, not one bit. And bottle refusal was the big one. We were going through bottle refusal. I think I'd rationed in my head that if I could get her off the boob, I could have a little bit of a chance of finding some recovery. Also, by the way, and I know you all know this, breastfeeding takes calories. Like, it's exhausting. It takes a woman's energy. It's a lot. You're literally draining the life force out of you, but if the shoe fits. And I just couldn't see. I mean, God bless Thomas Green. I don't even know how I was on those shoes. I think I was fine. I always think I got away with it, but I knew even at the time, opening for Thomas, I was like, I don't know if I'm good. I think I'm saying words and I think it's coming out and it seems to be going okay and people seem to be happy, but it's the difference between like paddling and surfing. I was working so hard, and comedy, when it's good, it's like you're just surfing, you just hit this wave and it's amazing, and whatever. Anyway, November was what we were traveling all over the country with Thomas, so we were all over. So a lot of driving. November was when Gemma gave me the hug in John Lewis. November was when Gemma just grabbed me out of an elevator and a lift, and saw this woman on her fucking knees, I think literally and emotionally. November also, it was a time when I'd gone down to London where my parents were still living. For a few days, Thomas and I had shows down there, and I finished the shows, and Pickles was being really bad. Sleep was just horrendous, and God bless her, she's a Scouse girl, and I know she's a Scouse girl because she loves her home. And I love the Scouse, but my God, are they homebods? Like, they love this city, they love their people. And I was like, this is a little Scouse girl, she needs to go home. She was just really acting out. So I put us in the car really, really late one night on the Friday, and I was like, I'm just going to get us back. I'm going to drive through the night, or it's like 4 hours, whatever, and get us home. And hopefully we'll at least get back to some sort of normality and whatever. And with an hour outside of Liverpool, I realised I'd left my house keys back in London. I can't even tell you where my head went. I honestly could have driven the car into the Central Reservation. I just called Dad and was like, I'm not going to cry and I'm not going to shout, but I'm just going to tell you what's happened. Now about to say the saddest sentence I've ever said. Pulled off in Stafford and stayed at a travel lodge. And I will tell you this. I made the call in that moment. She wasn't going to see me upset. And I was like, nope, we're going to make this another adventure. We're going to make this like a woohoo, let Pickles know where we are. This new weird, crazy place. Walked in to this travel lodge in Stafford. There was blood on the floor, beautiful. And I know it's blood on the floor because the next day I went down and I didn't even say it that night. That's the space I was in. Didn't even say it that night. I went down the next day and I was like, hello. You have blood on your floor up there. And she goes, oh, no, it's not blood. No, it's not actually blood. It's we think it's a felt tip that. And I was like, I'm going to stop you right there. Do you know how I know you're lying? You haven't even asked me what room we're in. So it's just clearly your like stock blood on the floor answer for the travel lodge, but whatever. We got into this room. I heated up a bottle. Yes, because I was still trying to do formula. I heated up a bottle, got her in her PJs, whatever. She was on me, gave her the full bottle. I was like, maybe this will be it. Maybe we have this awful night. And then she just magically sleeps and it turns into one of the most magical nights ever. Gave her this whole bottle. She drank the whole bottle. She then immediately vomited the entire bottle back up over me, her, the bed, everything, and then fell asleep. And I slept / did not sleep at all in vomit on a bed in the travel lodge in Stafford, which even as I say, I know is probably one of the better nights anyone's ever had in Stafford. But I like lay there being like, this is the worst. It can't get worse. Like it surely can't get worse than this moment. The next day I was very lucky that the estate agents had a spare pair of keys so we could get in. I didn't have to drive back down to London. Because let me tell you, I think we would have lived in a travel lodge in Stafford. It was so awful. That was the low point of a very, very, very low month. And I wrote a letter to November because I think it's important to make closure with these moments. All this to say, it did get better. If anyone is in their November now, it did get better. I have never since slept in vomit in a travel lodge with blood on the floor, ever since, with no keys. It did get better. Right. Dear November, you've been the worst November of my life to date. You've been worse than that November when Dad took me to one side at 17 and told me I've been getting fat. He wasn't wrong. Still, a tough one to take, considering that at the time I had train track braces to deal with my lisp. Absolute peak triple threat. This is worse than that November when I had a nervous breakdown in the Waitrose in Wandsworth and burst into tears for about 20 minutes while the light of my life, Ralphie, the sunshine boy I nannied for 3 years, just sat in the buggy, eating my croissant, and then turned round just as I started to compose myself and said, Hatty, I'm so proud of you. Even though he didn't know what that meant, just that he liked it when I said it to him, and so he knew it must be something nice. It made me cry even more, and then I spilled my gingerbread latte and nearly called the police on Starbucks for not making the cup more grippy. You, November, are worse than that November when that offensively public school boy called Rollo took me on the worst date of my life. He got drunk, I had half a glass of wine, talked incessantly about the fleet of boats he wanted to charter and kept trying to pour at me so vigorously that I sat for the final hour with all my clothes and possessions I had piled on my lap so that my thighs weren't accessible. And then he finished the day by turning to me and saying, so are we going to fuck then or what? We did not. And he sulked the whole way back to the train station, so much so that I lied and I said that the bus was quicker so that I could leave him and walk the other way, and it was not quicker. It was actually about twice as long and it terminated early, but I'd stopped caring about anything at approximately 9:41 p.m. that evening. You've been worse than that November when I quit my job mid-shift at Chotto Mate restaurant and threw the ugly work shoes in the bin in front of my manager. But unfortunately, that shift happened to be the soft launch of the restaurant. So I had to go up to my 2 friends enjoying a delicious meal for free because not only had I thrown my shoes in the bin and forgotten to pack trainers, but I'd also thrown a large number of the restaurant's apparently expensive, non-disposable chopsticks in said bin, and I wasn't sure how long until they'd realised. November, you have been this unfathomably hard because I have a little person who I love more than anything else in the world. And that doesn't seem to make sense, except that it does. Because now that tendency I have to self-flagellate every time I think I've made a mistake is heightened by 1,000, and I'm also more tired than I have ever been in my life. This is a sport to which I am new. 10 years of nannying has not and could not prepare me for this. It's not the same game, and I thought it was, and it isn't. It's like getting good at paddle, what are we saying? Paddle, and then assuming you'd win a wild card into Wimbledon. Currently, I sit eating my humble pie and quietly apologising in my head and my heart to all the mothers I know and love who, even when I've been a shoulder to cry on, when they were beside themselves having their tough patch, I've secretly harboured the belief that they must be making a mistake somewhere, that they must have a blind spot where they've allowed their situation to get so tough, where they've missed something. They hadn't. They never had. Not one of them. Actually, one of them had, but I am right about her, and she's unhinged, and her kids are bananas, and probably one is a serial killer, and truly that's on her. But the rest of them were doing everything right. Everything that felt good and right to them and for the baby they love more than life itself. Just like I do. Just like I'm doing. I'm doing everything that feels right. Throughout this whole month, it's just this sport doesn't have two halves and a finish whistle. It lasts a whole lifetime, and there are no whistles. There are no half times. There are no refreshments. There is no substitute bench. There is no coach screaming at you to stick into the game plan, and all you have to do is that. Strategy and stamina has no place here. You play with your heart, and only your love of the game is what will sustain you, not a medal or a league placement at the end of it. Your parents, though, are still just as proud of you as when you scored the winner against St Paul's, even if the screaming and the clapping isn't as loud. You've been awful to me, November, really unkind and savage, but as with all hard things, I suppose there's a begrudging thanks I owe you, because I'll leave you behind with relief, but also a gigantic volume of gratitude. I'm more grateful than ever for my parents. I'm more grateful than ever for my friends. I'm more grateful for the friends who are parents, especially the ones who appear because they just know and they don't have to say. I'm grateful for M&S gazpacho soup, without whom there would be no vitamins in my life. I'm grateful that M&S sell those teeny tiny bottles of wine so that I could have that glass and not be tempted to set fire to the night. Basically, I'm just grateful generally for M&S and Speak Retail Centre. And I'm grateful for celebrity traitors and especially Joe Marler. I'm grateful for the worst time coming to an end, as they always do. I'm grateful I got taught that truth again. With love, but absolutely no love, Hatty. And that's the end of episode 2. Bye.